guys, Coach Lynn, who head coach of Mount St. Mary's. Before we introduce this next guy, Adam, let's play a classic clip. You probably know this real well from the days he was on CBS.
Back to the 2-0, now the 2-1. Line drive and a base hit! Just as the score, the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe! Safe at the plate! The Braves go to...
All right. So, Adam, welcome in the next guest.
I will. Our next guest is a living legend and a Hall of Famer. He has called all 4 major sports in his career. He has done the ML. He has covered the College World Series in Omaha. He has been a hole announcer in golf, the NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. His father was a legend up in Boston with the Boston Globe, and now he heads to South Beach for the first college football playoff game on Thursday night between Penn State and Notre Dame. So joining us on the phone is someone I grew up watching and listening to while living in New Hampshire. He's a legend. It's Sean McDonough. So, Sean, thanks so much for joining us tonight. It is truly an honor to have you on our show. And what was it like to call Red Sox games back in the day with the legend and Jerry Remy?
Oh, he was the best. Loved Jerry. We miss him every day. He's one of the great baseball analysts of all time and a great guy and a dear friend. And it's sad that he died as young as he did. I would encourage people not to smoke cigarettes if they can avoid that really bad habit. And, he was the best.
Yes. He's one of the best announcers it's been in baseball. It's like if you listen to Sean, if you listen to Red Sox games, you know his voice. Like me growing up as a Met fan, knowing Bob Murphy and Lindsey Nelson and Ralph Kiner, and George is a big Yankee guy, so he knows about Mel Allen and Phil Rizzuto and all those people. So people and down here in Baltimore too. You got Chuck Thompson and John Miller, who was here for a while. So it's always cool to hear these voices of summer, knowing and your voice too, knowing that your voice of every genre, every sport that is in a different part of the season. Yeah.
Well, what do they say? Jack of all trades, master of none. That probably applies to me. But Jerry really was a legend and incredibly popular in New England. And you mentioned some other baseball announcers, and I think by and large, the baseball announcers tend to be the most popular with the fan bases because they're on every night from April till September, October. And after a while, you kind of feel like them, their personality, their sense of humor, their storytelling ability. And, I think a lot of people in New England was like Jerry was their friend.
Right, exactly. Let's bring in Jarrod Prugar, who covers Penn State. So we're going to talk Orange Bowl here with you tonight. So, Jarrod, say hello to Sean. I know you probably hear him a lot on TV, so say hello.
Yeah, listen, I thought for sure that you guys were trying to troll me with the Sid Bream and the Pirates clip, knowing that I cover the Pirates as well and the Altoona Curve for their prospects for Altoona Mirror. But it's an honor to be on the call with Sean. I didn't expect to be on there with him tonight, but I'm excited to kind of see the Orange Bowl and see what Penn State's able to do against Notre Dame.
Exactly. So, Sean, let's start with you. You were down in New Orleans. I know a tragic event on January 1st. I heard about it. I was at work, and Matt and Adam and everybody else told me like the game got moved. What was your psyche about that whole day? Because people don't realize you were down there, and you're getting yourself ready for a game to broadcast, and they're telling you we're going to move it tomorrow night. So, what was your psyche for that whole situation?
Yeah, well, a lot of different emotions. Obviously, the biggest one was, sadness. First of all, I woke up on New Year's Day to an email from our ESPN security folks. They were doing a wellness check, making sure me and everybody else on our crew, and it's a lot of people, were okay. I didn't even know, why they were asking. And then, all we knew in the early morning was that there had been some sort of incident on Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, but didn't know any of the details. And then obviously as the details emerged, it was really, really tragic more than anything else. So, you're all fired up to be down there and do the game. And then you realize in the grand scheme of things, the game isn't that important when you're talking about massive loss of life and terrorism and, evil and all the things that went into it. So kind of had a feeling early in the day that the game wasn't going to be played on New Year's Day. And then they made the decision to play it the next day. And I think that was the right decision. And fortunately, the game went on without incident, and Notre Dame played well. They deserved to win.
Yeah. Now you get a chance to see him go down to South Beach to play a Penn State squad who basically went to the desert and took care of the best running back in the country in Boise State. And now these two teams have never played each other since 2017. So, but it's the first time they're in a bowl game since 1976 playing against each other.
Yeah, obviously, all four of the teams left are some of the traditional powers in the history of college football. And I think this is a great matchup. Obviously, massive fan bases and a lot of national interest. I think two pretty evenly matched teams, two teams that are similar in a lot of ways, play really good defense. They're tough, they're physical, they're well coached, and I'm eager to watch it. I think it's really a toss-up game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Jarrod, do you have a question for you? Because you're the guest. You have a question for Sean?
For Sean, I mean, what have you seen really from Penn State recently that's got them to this point? I think to get where they've been after losing to Ohio State, I think this has been pretty impressive seeing them on my end. But what have you seen on your end?
Yeah, really just kind of immersing myself in it, because ESPN and ABC, we don't have the Big Ten anymore. We didn't have any of their games during the regular season. I saw several of them on TV, and now I've been sitting here for the past couple of days watching the tapes, particularly the recent games. I think the things that really jump out at you, a lot of really good players. The tight end is a great player. We talked to Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame coach, today, and he said Warren might be the best player at any position in college football, period. So I'm looking forward to watching him play in person. You watch him on tape. He's obviously a handful. Two really good running backs, quarterback that looks like he's playing his best football right now. I think one of the big questions in the game will be the health of some of the star players. Will Abdul Carter for Penn State be healthy and effective? And is Jeremiah Love, the terrific running back for Notre Dame, going to be, close to 100%? I don't think he's going to be 100% battling a knee injury, but to me, those are a couple of the most important storylines heading in.
Exactly. George, you're also the Notre Dame guy. Let's do it with George first, and Matt, who likes his Irish as well. So, George, go right ahead.
So, Sean, I got to say, you made a comment, I believe it was in the game at Notre Dame. You were all giddy to be able to cover a game because it wasn't on NBC. We need to get you over to NBC to cover all of our games.
Well, we've been pretty good luck. I mean, when you have a broadcast team that's McDonough, McElroy, and McGrath, you would think the Irish would probably fare pretty well because we have three mix, and Katie George is going to be with us this week, and we've joked that she's going to be Katie McGeorge for this broadcast. But even though we're all Irish, we're going to be totally impartial and straight down the middle, and all we really care about is a great game. But it was really fun to do a game at Notre Dame Stadium. As you said, unless you work for NBC, you haven't broadcast a game there on TV since 1990. So,
yep.
To be the first non-NBC crew to do that in 34 years, whatever it is, and then also just to have it be the first college football playoff game on a campus ever. Yeah, that would have been historic in and of itself. But to have it be at Notre Dame, there's just been so much college football history over the years. I think it was really fitting that the first playoff game on a campus was there.
Exactly.
So, Sean, I got to say, the color commentary and the coverage and the insight that you folks deliver during the game is just amazing. You let the game play out. You talk at the right points in time. But what I've heard from the folks is they enjoy the game because there's not a constant chatter like you hear with a lot of other broadcasters. So on behalf of the Irish fan base, thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. That's a real compliment, and it's important. I have said many times when I talk to sports broadcasting classes, particularly when I go back to Syracuse and talk with a lot of young people who want to be play-by-play people. I think it was Pat Summerall who had line that nobody ever complained that the announcers didn't talk enough. And, I really think that's true, especially in today's day and age with the great pictures and the great audio. People like the little breaks, and, they like to have time just to kind of hear the natural sound and take in the pictures. So we make a real effort not to have it be wall-to-wall talk. You want to be talking when you need to be talking about something, but there's nothing wrong with some silence every now and then too.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's
And
great.
the last part I had for you, Sean, is for years I've been talking about Notre Dame and covering them from the press box, that I've been looking for them to become and have this, what they call the triple threat. It's been a very long time, and I heard you folks alluding to it in the broadcast. I'm like, Sean was listening to me. I was like, Sean McDonough is saying what I've been saying. You don't know who's going to get the ball, and you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, that's true. They have a number of different weapons. Obviously, they have, those two running backs who do most of the ball carrying from that position, but the third down back in E.S. Williams is really good in that role. Obviously, Riley Leonard's a dual threat. They have good tight ends. Mitchell Evans in particular is a threat in the passing game. They have, I don't think it's a great wide receiver core, but it's really good, and they have a lot of guys who perform different roles very well. I think Jordan Faison's the guy who's come on lately, and has been a playmaker for them. So, they have a lot of ways that they can hurt you. I just think, they play complementary football. You hear people talk about that a lot, but they really do. I mean, Mike Denbrock was talking about his play calling in the Georgia, and he didn't want to do anything too elaborate because he knew the defense was having a great game. It was pretty well holding Georgia with the backup quarterback in the game for the Bulldogs in check. So, that's the way you should coach. Why take chances when you have a 10-point lead and your defense is pretty much stifling the other team?
Exactly. I agree. Matt, you got a question for Sean? Go right ahead, big guy.
Yes, Sean. So what does Penn State have to do in order to pull off the victory against Notre Dame to go into the championship game?
Well, I think it's going to be a game along the line of scrimmage. I think both coaching staffs, all coaches emphasize the turnover mark. I think that might really be the key in this game. Notre Dame is terrific at taking the ball away. They have 31 takeaways. That's the most in the country. But then, a big part of Penn State's success in these two wins in the playoffs against SMU and Boise State have been the takeaways. And they've had 7 takeaways in 2 games, including 6 interceptions. So I think the team that wins the turnover battle, it very well might be the deciding factor. And then I think, the health of Carter, as I said before, will be huge. If he's healthy and able to go, then he's a big difference maker, particularly as a pass rusher. Not quite as much against the run. But I think that Penn State also has to hold its own in special teams, because that's one place where it seems like, Penn State, Notre Dame has made a big play in every game. They had the kickoff return for a touchdown against Georgia. They run a bunch of fakes successfully this year. Their field goal kicker looks like he's fully healthy. He made 3 field goals of 40 plus. So I don't think Penn State has to win the special teams areas, but they can't really be taken advantage of in that area.
Mm-hmm. I think Jarrod has the last question for you, Sean. So, Jarrod, go finish up, big guy. Go ahead.
Sean, the biggest thing, how you mentioned the special teams battle, but how do you view the quarterbacks with Riley Leonard and Drew Aller? Both are seemingly playing some of their best football, with Leonard doing it with his legs, Aller doing it with his arms. It might not have looked that way really on the stat sheet against Boise State, but it does look like he's playing some really good football right now.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. They're both playing probably their best football of the year. Riley Leonard's come a long way. Obviously, when they lost the second game of the year to Northern Illinois, everybody thought, most people thought it was going to be catastrophic for them. And he looked like he was lost, trying to learn a new system and dealing with, being the quarterback at Notre Dame. So from where he was then to where he is now, it's just remarkable, in terms of his confidence level. And I think the confidence has the most to do with why he's playing so well, that and with his comfort with the system and with his new teammates. And, Drew Aller, same thing. It just you turn on the tape. But, I haven't watched every game this season, but you keep reading that, he's playing as well as he has, and that's what the coaches have been saying. And, he definitely is playing at a high level. So I think that's what it – obviously to get to this point, you have to be playing pretty well. But I do think in both cases you have two teams that are really playing their best football of the season right now.
That's true. Well, Sean, I want to let you go. I know you're a busy guy, but I hope you have a safe trip down to Florida. Get some warm weather, big guy, because it's pretty cold here in Maryland. I know you're probably up in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. It's probably pretty cold too as well. So
I'm actually smart enough to get away to Arizona in the winter. So
that's good.
I'm sitting here. It's a little chilly by our standards, so it's probably about 65 right now. But I'm traveling tomorrow down to Miami for the game, and really looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on, guys, and Happy New Year.
You too, and thanks
Happy New Year, Sean.
My pleasure. Thanks.